Maybe the real clutter isn't what fills the room, but what never got a proper ending. As life moves forward, our relationship with effort changes. We begin to notice how much energy small choices take, how long it takes to recover from even simple tasks, and how unfinished things quietly follow us from room to room. A pile that once felt harmless can now feel like a question waiting to be answered. Not because anything is wrong, but because clarity starts to matter more than accumulation. Mina is 67. She lives alone in a modest Japanese-style apartment just outside Kyoto. When people visit, they see a home that looks perfectly acceptable. Nothing is broken, nothing is overflowing. And yet, when the door closes and the silence returns, Mina feels a low, steady tension. Drawers that haven't been opened in months. Shelves that hold things she no longer reaches for. Corners that seem to whisper, "Deal with me later." She isn't chasing admiration or approval anymore. What she wants is something quieter, a sense that her home is no longer asking questions she's too tired to answer. That's what this video is about. Not dramatic decluttering, not starting over, but learning how small, thoughtful habits, inspired by everyday Japanese living, can gently lower the mental noise of a home after 60. These are habits designed to work with your energy, not against it. By the end, the goal isn't a perfect space, but the ability to look at one small area and feel relief instead of resistance. Fewer decisions, easier mornings, more room for rest, reflection, and the parts of life that still bring quiet joy. Welcome to Wise Aging Seniors, a calm place for people who want their later years to feel lighter, slower, and more intentional, one room at a time. If this way of thinking feels familiar, or if it brings a small sense of relief, you're in the right place. And if you'd like to keep exploring gentle ideas like this, you're always welcome to join our community. Before we begin, it helps to know this. The first few habits you'll hear aren't really about tidying at all. They're about protecting what matters most now, your energy, your movement, and your attention. So your home supports you quietly, instead of asking for more than it needs to. Habit 1. Genkan Gatekeeping. Nothing enters unchecked. In many Japanese homes, the entrance isn't treated as a hallway. It's treated as a boundary. It's the place where the outside world gently pauses before stepping inside. Not everything is invited in immediately, and nothing moves forward without a moment of awareness. This small pause is what gives the home its sense of calm before anything else happens. For Mina, this habit didn't require remodeling or strict rules. She simply claimed a small area near her door and gave it a clear purpose. Mail, packages, shopping bags, and anything arriving from outside land here first. They don't travel farther. They don't get set down just for a minute on the table or chair. This one choice quietly prevents clutter from spreading before she even notices it happening. What makes this habit especially helpful after 60 is that it removes urgency. Instead of feeling pressure to deal with everything immediately, Mina gives herself permission to decide later, on her terms. When she has the energy, she sorts the papers. When she doesn't, they wait calmly in one place. Nothing follows her into the rest of the home, asking for attention. Over time, this changes how Mina feels when she walks through her door. She no longer steps into visual noise or unfinished tasks scattered across rooms. The living space stays peaceful because decisions haven't been carried inside with her. Her body relaxes sooner, and her mind settles more easily because the home isn't demanding action the moment she arrives. You don't need a traditional Japanese entryway to use this idea. A small table, a basket, a tray, or even one clearly defined spot can act as your personal filter. The important part isn't the object, it's the agreement you make with yourself. Outside items pause here, they don't spread, they don't multiply. This habit isn't about control or strictness, it's about kindness. By deciding where things stop, you protect the rest of your home from becoming a storage space for unfinished thoughts. And over time, that single boundary can make the entire home feel quieter, more contained, and much easier to live in. Habit 2. The end-of-day sweep. 2 minutes, same path. In many Japanese households, cleanliness isn't built around long, exhausting sessions. Instead, it's woven quietly into the rhythm of the day. A short usuji, a light end-of-day sweep, becomes less about cleaning and more about closing the day gently. It's not meant to make the home perfect. It's meant to make tomorrow easier. For Mina, this habit takes just a few minutes, and it always follows the same simple route. She begins where she entered the home earlier, moves through the hallway, and ends in the main living space. She doesn't scan the room looking for everything that's wrong. She only notices what's already along her path. A cup that belongs in the sink, a book that wandered onto the chair, a sweater folded back where it rests. What makes this powerful is consistency, not effort. Because the path never changes, Mina doesn't have to make decisions about where to start or when to stop. Her body remembers the movement. Her hands know what to do. There's no mental negotiation, no inner voice saying, "I should do more." When the path is finished, the day is finished too. This habit is especially kind after 60 because it respects limited energy. There's no bending to scrub floors or lifting to reorganize shelves. The focus is light movement, gentle returning, and knowing when enough is enough. By touching her space briefly each evening, Mina prevents small messes from becoming future burdens that demand a full day of effort. Over time, something subtle happens. Mornings begin to feel calmer. Mina wakes up to a home that hasn't been left mid-conversation. There's less visual noise and fewer decisions waiting for her. The sweep becomes a form of closure, a quiet signal to her mind that the day has been tended to and can now be released. You can adapt this habit to your own pace and layout. The path can be short, the time can be even shorter. What matters is repetition, not perfection. When the same few steps are taken each evening, the home learns the rhythm, and so does the body. And little by little, cleaning stops feeling like a task waiting to ambush you, and starts feeling like a gentle way to end the day. Habit 3. Corridor safety rule. Nothing on the line. In many Japanese homes, walkways are treated with quiet respect. Hallways, doorways, and the spaces between rooms are kept open not just for appearance, but for peace of mind. These clear lines allow the eyes to rest and the body to move without hesitation. They send a simple message. You can walk here without thinking. Mina didn't notice the problem at first. It was never one big object. It was the small things placed just for now. A bag leaned against the wall, a box set down for later, shoes that didn't quite make it back to their place. Each item seemed harmless on its own, but together they slowly changed how she moved through her home. She began stepping around things, slowing down, watching her feet instead of relaxing into the walk. That's when she realized something important. Every object in her walking path was quietly asking her body to adjust, to compensate, to stay alert. And over time, that constant awareness stole confidence. Her home no longer felt like a place she moved through naturally. It felt like a space she had to manage. So Mina made one simple rule. The line she walks every day stays clear. Not tidy, not decorated. Clear. Nothing is allowed to live where her feet land most often. If something ends up there, it doesn't belong, even temporarily. This isn't about discipline. It's about trust. Trusting that her body deserves safe, predictable movement. The effect is immediate and surprisingly emotional. Walking through her home feels smoother, quieter. Her shoulders drop because she's no longer scanning for obstacles. The space feels wider without adding a single square meter. And perhaps most importantly, her confidence returns. She moves through her own home without hesitation. This habit doesn't require removing belongings from your life. It simply asks you to notice your most common paths and honor them. Hallways, doorways, and transitions between rooms are not storage spaces. They are passages. When they're kept clear, the entire home begins to feel calmer and more breathable. Once movement and entry are protected, something shifts. The home stops feeling tight and starts to open up. And with that sense of ease restored, Mina is ready to look at the next challenge. The flat surfaces where clutter tends to settle quietly and grow. Habit 4. Tatami. Thinking, low surfaces, less piles. In traditional Japanese rooms, tatami floors and low tables shape how people live in a space. Because everything happens closer to the ground, surfaces are meant to stay open and usable. You sit there, you rest there, you place a cup of tea there. When a surface becomes crowded, it immediately feels uncomfortable, not visually wrong, but physically inconvenient. Life can't happen easily on it anymore. Mina begins to apply this way of thinking, even though her home isn't arranged like a traditional tatami room. She starts seeing every flat surface not as storage, but as a place meant to support daily living. Tables, shelves, counters, even the top of a cabinet. Each one quietly asks the same question. Can this still be used without effort? She notices how piles form without intention. A few papers here, a box there. Objects left not because they belong, but because there was nowhere else to put them at the moment. Over time, these surfaces stop inviting use. They become reminders of things waiting to be handled, moved, or decided. So Mina sets a simple personal check. If she can't comfortably set down a cup, rest her hands, or place something she actually needs, then the surface is carrying too much. This isn't about clearing everything away. It's about restoring function. When a surface can be used easily, it feels alive again, not frozen under layers of later. What surprises her most is how quickly this reduces mental weight. Clear, low surfaces don't just look calmer. They reduce the number of silent decisions she has to make throughout the day. She no longer scans for a free spot. She no longer shifts items around just to make space. The home begins offering help instead of friction. This habit gently rewires the question most of us ask. Instead of wondering how much a table, shelf, or counter can hold, Mina asks whether it still supports the way she lives now. The answer is immediate and honest. If the surface can't serve her, it's time to lighten it. Tatami thinking isn't about minimalism or aesthetics. It's about usability, comfort, and respect for everyday moments. When surfaces stay open and accessible, life flows more easily around them. And little by little, the home stops feeling like a place that stores things, and becomes a place that truly supports living. Habit 5. Small things in small trays. In many Japanese homes, small everyday items are given clear, modest boundaries. Instead of deep boxes or large containers, shallow trays are used to hold what's used often and returned often. These trays don't hide things away. They gently gather them. The result is not strict order, but visual calm. Mina notices that her daily fatigue rarely comes from big messes. It comes from searching, looking for her glasses, reaching for the remote, wondering where she last placed her pen or notebook. Each moment is small, but together they quietly drain her attention. Nothing feels urgent, yet everything asks to be found. So she chooses one simple tray and gives it a clear purpose. Only the things she uses every day are allowed to live there. Not backups, not just-in-case items. Only what truly earns its place through daily use. When she's finished with something, she doesn't think about where it goes. Her hands already know. This small habit changes the rhythm of her day. Mornings begin without searching. Evenings feel less scattered. The tray becomes a calm island in her space, a place where the day's essentials rest together instead of drifting from room to room. There's less visual noise, fewer interruptions, and fewer moments of mild frustration that add up over time. Pause for a moment and notice if one small area of your home already feels a bit tired. Not messy, just asking for ease. Often it's not asking to be emptied, it's asking to be contained. What makes this habit so effective is its gentleness. There's no pressure to organize everything at once. One tray is enough to begin, and because the tray is shallow, it quietly limits how much can gather there. When it starts to feel full, it's a natural signal, not to add more, but to reassess. Small trays work because they respect attention. They make it easy to return things without effort or decision, and over time that ease spreads. When the small things stop wandering, the home feels steadier, less tiring, more supportive. Not because there's less in it, what remains, finally, has a place to rest. Habit 6. Seasonal drawer. Rotation. Only this season lives here. In Japan, the changing seasons are not just observed, they're lived with. Homes quietly adjust as the weather shifts, and storage follows that same rhythm. What's needed now stays close. What belongs to another season steps back and waits its turn. This natural rotation keeps daily life feeling aligned instead of crowded. Mina realizes that many of her daily frustrations come from mixing now with later. A drawer might hold a light scarf beside thick winter gloves, or items she hasn't touched in months sitting in front of what she actually needs. Every time she opens it, her brain has to sort before her hands can act. Nothing is wrong, but nothing feels simple either. So she chooses just one drawer and gives it a single rule. Only this season lives here. If it's not useful right now, it doesn't belong. There's no pressure to declutter the whole house. One drawer is enough. Items that are out of season move to a labelled box or a higher shelf, not discarded, just resting. The change is immediate. When Mina opens that drawer, everything inside makes sense. There's no scanning, no hesitation, no small inner debate about what to pick. Her hands move easily because her mind isn't being asked to decide. This small clarity brings a quiet sense of relief she didn't realize she was missing. What makes this habit especially comforting after 60 is that it respects energy. Life no longer needs to hold everything at once. Just like the body adapts to warmer or cooler days, the home can adapt too. By allowing storage to shift with the seasons, Mina stops asking herself to manage more than is necessary. This approach also changes how she views time. Out-of-season items aren't forgotten or abandoned, they're simply waiting. That mindset removes guilt and urgency. Nothing is being lost. Everything has its moment. You don't need many drawers or complex systems to use this idea. One drawer, one shelf, or one small space is enough to begin. When storage matches the season you're living in, daily routines feel lighter. And over time, that sense of ease quietly spreads to the rest of the home and the day itself. Habit 7. The elder-friendly floor. Rule: no low-stooping storage. In many Japanese homes, changes for aging aren't announced or dramatic. They're quiet adjustments made out of respect for the body. One of the most common shifts is subtle but powerful. Everyday storage slowly moves upward, not to signal limitation, but to reduce strain, hesitation, and unnecessary risk. Mina begins to notice how often she bends without thinking, reaching into low cupboards, kneeling to retrieve something she uses every day. Each movement seems small, but together they add effort and tension to routines that should feel simple. Some days she avoids certain tasks altogether, not because they're difficult, but because her body already feels tired before she begins. So she makes a gentle decision. Items she uses often no longer live near the floor. Cleaning supplies she reaches for weekly, kitchen tools she uses daily, bags she takes when she goes out. All of them move into a zone that feels natural to access. Between knee and shoulder height becomes her new standard. Nothing precious is lost. Nothing is given up. Things are simply placed where her body can meet them easily. What surprises Mina is how much calmer her movements become. She no longer braces herself before bending. She no longer delays small tasks because they feel physically inconvenient. Her home begins to work with her body instead of asking it to adapt over and over again. This habit isn't about admitting weakness, it's about honoring experience. After decades of living, the body deserves efficiency and care. Japanese homes understand this intuitively. Comfort is not indulgence, it's practicality. When storage supports natural movement, confidence returns quietly. There's also an emotional shift. Mina notices fewer moments of frustration and fewer reminders of what feels harder than it used to. Instead, she experiences smoothness, ease, a sense that her home respects her pace. You don't need to rearrange everything to try this. Start with one cupboard or one shelf. Ask yourself a simple question. Does reaching for this item feel effortless, or does it ask more than it should? Let that answer guide you. When daily items live within easy reach, the home becomes safer, calmer, and more supportive. And over time, that feeling of support spreads, not just through the rooms, but through the way each day unfolds. Habit 8. One sentimental shelf, not a shrine. In many Japanese homes, sentimental objects are treated with quiet respect. They aren't hidden away, but they also aren't scattered across every surface. Instead, they're gathered in one intentional place, a small shelf, a corner, a simple alcove, where their presence feels meaningful rather than overwhelming. This approach doesn't lessen their importance, it deepens it. Mina notices that her memories are everywhere. A photograph on the table, a keepsake on the windowsill, a small gift tucked beside everyday items. Each object carries warmth, but together they create a constant emotional hum. Every glance reminds her of someone, some time, some responsibility to remember. None of it is painful, but it's tiring in a way she can't quite explain. So she chooses one shelf, just one. She clears it gently and decides that only what truly matters most will live there. Not everything, not every memory, only the pieces that still feel alive to her now. A photo that brings comfort, not sadness. An object that makes her smile instead of sigh. What changes is not what she keeps, but how she experiences it. When everything sentimental has its own place, memories stop interrupting her day. They become something she can visit intentionally. She can stand there, look, remember, feel, and then walk away without carrying all of it with her. This habit is especially powerful after 60 because life already holds many layers of memory. By giving those memories a focused home, Mina protects her emotional energy. The shelf becomes a place of connection, not obligation. Love is honored without being asked to explain itself every time she passes by. This is not about letting go of the past. It's about choosing how the past lives with you now. When sentimental items are spread everywhere, they quietly demand attention. When they're gathered with care, they offer comfort instead. If you had to choose just one habit from today to try this week, which one feels kindest to you right now? You don't need to decide immediately. Let the question sit with you. Often, the kindest choice is the one that brings the most relief, not the most change. Habit 9. Weekly Mottainai. Check. Guilt versus genuine use. The Japanese idea of Mottainai is often translated as regret over waste, but its deeper meaning is more gentle than that. It isn't about holding on tightly. It's about respect. For objects, for space, and for life itself. In this sense, keeping things that no longer serve us can also be a kind of waste, not of objects, but of energy and attention. Mina realizes that many of the things surrounding her aren't there because she uses or enjoys them. They're there because of guilt. Gifts she never needed but feels bad discarding. Items she once planned to use. Things that were expensive, useful once, or meaningful in a different season of her life. None of them are wrong to own, but together they quietly weigh on her. So she creates a small weekly ritual. Not a purge, not a long sorting session, just a brief check of one drawer, one shelf, or one corner. And she asks herself a single, honest question. Does this still serve me now, or am I keeping it because I feel I should? What surprises her is how clear the answers become when the question is framed this way. There's no pressure to decide everything at once. If an item is useful, it stays without debate. If it's there only because of guilt, it's gently set aside. No judgment, no rush, just acknowledgement. Items that fall into the guilt-only category don't disappear immediately. They're given time. They move toward donation, gifting, resale or recycling when Mina feels ready. This slow approach removes fear and regret. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forced. Over time, this habit changes how Mina relates to her belongings. She begins choosing presence over obligation. Her home starts reflecting her current life instead of past expectations, and the emotional noise softens. There are fewer reminders of what she should do, and more space for what she actually wants. This habit is not about minimalism. It's about honesty and kindness. When guilt no longer decides what stays, the home feels lighter, not because there's less in it, but because everything that remains has a clear reason to be there. Little by little, Mina notices that letting go doesn't create emptiness. It creates relief. And that relief carries forward into her days, making space not just in her home, but in her mind as well. Habit 10. The leaving quietly box. In many Japanese homes, letting go isn't treated as an event. It's treated as a quiet, ongoing process. There are no dramatic decluttering days, no emotional build-up, and no pressure to decide everything at once. Instead, items leave gradually, almost unnoticed, as life continues forward. Mina keeps one sturdy box in a discreet corner of her home. It isn't labelled loudly, and it isn't meant to draw attention. It's simply there, waiting. When she comes across something she knows she no longer needs, she places it inside without ceremony. There's no requirement to explain the decision, no expectation to act immediately. The item rests there until the next time she's already heading out. To the market, to visit a friend, or to run errands. This approach removes one of the biggest emotional barriers to letting go: urgency. Mina no longer feels the pressure of making a final decision in the moment. She doesn't have to organise a donation trip or schedule a special task. Letting go becomes part of normal life, not an interruption to it. Over time, the box fills slowly, then empties just as quietly. Items leave her home without fanfare, and she barely notices their absence. What she does notice is how much lighter the space feels, not because large amounts are gone, but because nothing overstays its welcome. This habit is especially comforting after 60 because it respects emotional pacing. Some things are easy to release, others need time. The box allows both. It creates a safe middle ground between holding on and letting go, without forcing either. You don't need a large container or a perfect system. One bag, one box, or one basket is enough. The important part is its presence, a visible reminder that leaving is allowed and that it can happen gently. By giving items a quiet exit, Mina removes the drama from decluttering. Nothing is rushed, nothing is lost, and little by little her home becomes a place that reflects her present life, calm, intentional, and ready to move forward at its own steady pace. What finally becomes clear to Mina is that nothing she changed was really about getting rid of things. The deeper shift was quieter than that. It was the moment she realized her home had been asking her to live in a past version of herself. One with more energy, more tolerance for strain, more patience for small frustrations, and she no longer needed to answer that call. Each habit she adopted removed a small point of friction. Fewer obstacles underfoot, fewer decisions waiting in drawers, fewer objects asking to be handled, moved, or justified. On their own, these changes seemed modest. Together, they changed how her body moved through space and how her mind settled at the end of the day. Mina notices she no longer braces herself when she stands up or walks through a room. She doesn't sigh as often when she opens a drawer. Her home no longer argues with her pace. It doesn't demand explanations or apologies for what she can't do the way she once did. Instead, it supports who she is now, steady, thoughtful, and deserving of ease. This is when she understands the real purpose of decluttering at this stage of life. It isn't about reducing possessions. It's about reducing resistance. When a home aligns with current energy instead of past expectations, daily life becomes quieter. Not empty, not bare, just calm. Her space hasn't grown smaller, it has grown kinder. And that kindness is what allows her to move through her days with more confidence, more comfort, and a deeper sense of peace. As evening settles in, Mina walks her familiar path through the home one last time. It doesn't take long. There are fewer objects asking to be moved, fewer obstacles asking for attention, fewer loose ends pulling at her thoughts. She notices how natural the movement feels now. No stopping, no scanning, no quiet frustration building with each step. What surprises her most is not the visual calm, but the mental one. There's less to hold in her head, fewer reminders of things undone. The home no longer feels like a list she has to manage before she can rest. It feels complete enough to let the day end properly. The effort is smaller, and because of that, it's sustainable. Nothing about her routine feels heavy or demanding. The habits she's built don't require motivation or energy she doesn't have. They simply fit. And in that fit, her mind finally quiets in a way it hasn't for a long time. When your home matches the season of life you're in, cleaning becomes a short conversation, not a lifelong argument. A home that supports you doesn't ask you to keep up with who you used to be. It adapts with you. And when it does, even ordinary days begin to feel lighter. If you'd like, you're welcome to share in the comments one small change you're considering. It doesn't have to be big or impressive. Often, it's the simplest ideas that quietly help someone else feel less alone. Every gentle habit shared here has a ripple effect. It reaches another senior who may be feeling overwhelmed, tired of managing their space, or unsure where to begin. Your presence, your reflection, and your engagement help this message travel further than you might expect. That's where hype comes in. Hype helps this video reach people who are still fighting with their homes and don't yet know there's a gentler way forward. When you use hype, you're not promoting a video. You're helping someone else find relief. To use it on the YouTube app, scroll down and swipe left on the comment preview carousel until the hype button appears. Tap hype, choose how many points you'd like to give. Smaller creators receive a bigger boost, and confirm your choice. You receive 3 free hypes each week. Thank you for spending this time here. If this video brought you a sense of calm or clarity, consider liking it, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It's a simple way to stay connected with the wise aging seniors community. A place where growing older means living with more ease, not more effort.